All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, for all intents and purposes, Canelo Alvarez is the new cash cow of professional boxing. But there's this one person that he just cannot get off of his mind. That being the person that handed him by far the most embarrassing defeat of any defeat that he's ever experienced stepping into a boxing ring. That being the 2013 boxing lesson that Canelo received from Floyd Mayweather. He still cannot move past it, nor can his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. And they both in tandem cannot stop from constantly trying to call out Floyd Mayweather or trying to utilize this fake pretext that Mayweather is obsessed with them, when it's very clear that they are the ones that are obsessed with Floyd, because they know that they need to defeat Floyd in the ring to truly make Canelo not only the cash cow, but the universally accepted, hypothetical, lineal pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Because if there is an opportunity for a so-called pound-for-pound top 5 fighter to actually be in the same division as the #1 overall pound-for-pound top fighter, you understand that if you get in the ring with that #1 pound-for-pound fighter and you defeat him, you automatically become considered the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Well, right now, Floyd Mayweather has been retired really for about 3 years now, going on 4 years. But Canelo still dreams of that match because he knows what it will do for his career. Now, Canelo Alvarez will also be debuting in the 168-pound weight class tonight against a relatively slick southpaw, very tall fighter by the name of Rocky Fielding. I predict that Canelo will most likely stop him late, but there will be some tense moments throughout the fight because from what I've seen of Mr. Rocky Fielding, he is relatively slick and fast, and he is a southpaw. But I do think that Canelo will wear him down over the course of the fight, go to the body, hit him with some straight right hands, and probably walk him down, stop him.
You know what's going on this weekend? What? Canelo Alvarez is going to fight. Hey, Rocky. Yeah, he's fighting. He's going to beat the crap out of this guy. No one really cares. Canelo Alvarez fighting a guy named Rocky. He's going to destroy this guy. But the bigger story is that he wants a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. And this is a big deal because, remember, they fought a couple of years ago. They fought in 2013. It's a long time ago. And how did it go down, Van?
Once again, in my view, that fight, Floyd's performance against Canelo in that fight, was one of his maestro performances of his career. It truly was. I'm not quite sure if I've ever seen Floyd as alert and aware defensively as he was in that fight. He was so sharp. And his offense was just as sharp as well. He was extraordinary.
It was a boxing lesson. Just to be honest with you, Floyd Mayweather, a lot of people thought that maybe Canelo was a little bit too young, maybe a little too big for Floyd. This fight went down at 154.
What really happened was that Floyd's feet were about 5 times faster than Canelo's, and his hands were at least twice as fast as Canelo's, and Canelo has very fast hands.
But Floyd absolutely schooled Canelo Alvarez, no matter what the final scores were in this fight.
Yes, one of the judges scored the fight a draw, so it was very clear that Oscar De La Hoya had made sure that he had a certain judge in his pocket. Either way, it was an extraordinary performance by Floyd Mayweather that night.
It wasn't really close.
Floyd Mayweather recently said of the fight, I was an old man when I faced Canelo, and we all know that was easy work. Some of the easiest work I ever had.
Well, really, Floyd Mayweather made this statement in response to certain statements that were made by Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez, who every time they're trying to garner up some attention for Canelo, start to try to throw dirt on Floyd Mayweather's name because they know that Floyd is going to respond.
Talking trash like a man who wants to get back in the ring and beat up Canelo again. Well, we actually spoke with Canelo Alvarez, and we read the quote to him. We said, how do you feel about Floyd Mayweather talking all this trash to you? You become one of the biggest fighters in the world. You signed that big $365 million contract.
Really, that night, if Floyd Mayweather had put the pedal to the metal, he probably could have stopped Canelo.
Contract. How do you feel about Floyd Mayweather running his mouth? Here's what Canelo said.
The truth is, I have nothing to say to him. He's vulgar, and I don't know why.
Canelo Alvarez, we both know that you have a lot to say to Floyd Mayweather. You've been calling him out for the last 4 years or so because you know that you have to redeem that loss in order to, in your mind, be able to go to sleep at night feeling like you're the best fighter in the world anywhere within the vicinity of your weight class. You know, as long as that man Floyd Mayweather is alive, you cannot call yourself the best boxer in the world, even if he's old now.
Reality, he said he was old, but I was too young for that fight. But those are just arguments that he can have, and then I...
Well, how can you say that you were too young for that fight when you were the world champion at 154? You can't be too young to get into the ring and experience a master class if you're already a world champion. Now, you could have said you were too young if you were not a world champion at 154. At the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather became world champion in 1998. He was 21 years old. He was younger than you. And he never had the excuse of, well, I was too young to get into the ring with Chicanito Hernandez. He was able to outbox a master boxer. You were not. And you're a great boxer as well, but Floyd Mayweather is on a whole other level. He's on a whole other stratosphere.
And I can have as well.
Or at least he was back in 2013.
We keep talking, but it looks like it's getting to him.
Would Canelo Alvarez be open to a rematch against Floyd Mayweather?
Así es, no, sin duda. Yes, no doubt. It would be good for boxing, and it would be good for what he's looking for.
So once again, Canelo Alvarez refutes his own sentiment. The interviewer asked him, do you want to fight Floyd again? He said, yes, it'll be good for boxing. How would it be good for boxing if you're 28 years old and Floyd Mayweather's going to be 42 next January or February, whenever it is? I believe next January. Floyd's going to be 42. So clearly it's you who's desperate for, number one, the big payday bonus that you'll get from wherever the fight will be broadcast from, and also the high esteem in the boxing world that you will receive by being the first person to defeat Floyd in the ring. It's not going to happen. Floyd is not going to fight you, bro.
Which is money. More than anything, it would be good for boxing. I'm different now. I have more experience. I have more confidence in the ring. And it would be a different result, I can assure you of that. It would be a better...
In other words, you're saying that you had no confidence getting into the ring back in 2013. That's not what you or your team was saying back then. As a matter of fact, I distinctly remember that many of the members of your entourage got tattooed on their body the date of that fight, because supposedly that was going to signify the transition in regards to who was considered the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world from Floyd Mayweather to you. And we all know that you came up horribly short that night.
A better fight, and I know that the public will walk away very happy from wherever in the world that they're watching.
Okay, Canelo Alvarez is 28 years old. Floyd Mayweather is 41 years old.
About to be 42.
Realistically, what are the chances that we get these guys back in the ring and they fight again?
0.
I mean, listen, if the money's right, Floyd will do it.
Yeah.
But
Floyd's kind of trying to...
Floyd would have to get a guaranteed $300 million before the pay-per-view revenue. He'd have to get a guaranteed $300 million to make that fight.
Duck from this dude that he's going to fight in New Year's Eve from Japan.
This is 0% chance.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
and I don't think for any amount of money that he would do it.
It's because people get the brakes beat off them.
Because
Not necessarily because Floyd would get the brakes beat off of him, because it's just not worth it. At this point, what would he have to prove against a Canelo Alvarez? Even though I think that would probably be a 50-50 fight at best if they were to get into the ring right now, because I think that even Floyd realizes that his boxing mortality has started to hit him. I would still give Floyd maybe a 40% chance because he's never lost before, and the boxing skills that he's always displayed have been pretty natural in nature. But I just don't think that basically having 4 years off from being in the ring against real boxers, real world-class boxers, that's not going to fare well on him. And I'm sure that his skills have depreciated a great deal. The last time that we saw him was against Conor, and he did not look like the same guy at all.
You don't think he would get the big spit out of him?
Floyd would get punished by Canelo
right,
Alvarez.
and that 50-0 for Floyd is more important than any amount of money, I think.
Yeah, so I don't think that he'd do it. I was trying
So
No, he's not going to do it because he doesn't have to.
So can we just... Is it time to just be done with Floyd Mayweather?
he no longer
serious...
Well, Floyd Mayweather has been done with you. Floyd Mayweather's been done for a very long time. People have to understand something about Floyd. And he's oftentimes subjected to a lot of criticism in regards to his boxing decisions over the last couple of years. Floyd Mayweather is no longer an active boxer. He's not a real fighter anymore. He's an entertainer. And he tells you that himself. He no longer is fighting world-class competition. What Floyd Mayweather does now is he engages in what are known as boxing exhibitions. And every boxer in history has done this. Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Roy Jones, Sugar Leonard, they've all had boxing exhibitions while they were fighting and after they finished fighting. The difference is that Floyd Mayweather is the highest profile boxer in the history of professional boxing. Even higher profile than Muhammad Ali, believe it or not. So Floyd Mayweather actually can get 6 figures, 7 figures for exhibitions. Ali can never do that. But Muhammad Ali also had high-profile exhibition matches. Look at the fight that he had against Antonio Inoki that almost ended his career back in 1976. Look at the boxing exhibition that he had over there in the Soviet Union back in the late 70s, where all those young Russian boxers whooped his ass in the ring. Look at the exhibition that Ali had against Lyle Alzado back in the late 70s, like 1979, where Ali got in the ring with a big old beer belly and man titties and still beat up Lyle Alzado. Point being is that great fighters have always had boxing exhibitions. It's just that Floyd Mayweather is the only boxer in history that retired making as much money as he did, talked as much shit as he did, and was undefeated, and now makes you pay to watch his boxing exhibitions. So it's nothing different, but it's completely different at the same damn time. And it screws people's heads up.
Greatest boxing matches, that's over, right?
He hasn't made a serious boxing match in a long time. I would think.
Why would he? He's retired.
It's Andre Berto.
I'd argue with you that I'd argue with you, to be honest with you, that wasn't really a serious boxing match. Like,
Well, Andre Berto.
No, that was a serious boxing match. It's just that with Floyd Mayweather, they want him to fight world beaters every fight. Andre Berto was a world-class fighter at the time. Please keep in mind that Floyd Mayweather had always wanted to fight Andre Berto. If you watch the documentary, the Showtime documentary that they made with Floyd, right around the time that he was going to prison, it was called 30 Days in May. And he stated in that documentary that Andre Berto was one of the fighters that he wanted to fight because they had an issue with one another going back a long ways. I believe he named Manny Pacquiao, he named Andre Berto, he named a few guys that he ended up fighting in the aftermath of getting released from prison. Or no, right around that time. As a matter of fact, I think that they started the documentary right before he fought Cotto, or right before he cemented the deal to fight Cotto. Because I believe he named Cotto also as a fighter that he wanted to fight. He named Cotto, Pacquiao, and Andre Berto. People forget he was supposed to fight Berto back in 2011. Berto had a big fight against Victor Ortiz for the WBC belt. Berto was the title holder. He lost to Victor Ortiz, so Floyd made the fight with Ortiz. Had Berto won, Berto would have gotten the fight back then. But there was nothing wrong with Floyd Mayweather having a showcase fight at the end of his career. Most of these welterweight champions today, the majority of their fights are showcase fights. Keith Thurman's next fight coming back will be a showcase fight. Sean Porter's next fight will be a showcase fight. Errol Spence's next fight against Mikey Garcia will be considered a showcase fight, even though Mikey Garcia is a top-level fighter.
Andre Berto's a legit fighter.
like, yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a guy at that point, Floyd, who was at the top of the division. So if you want to prove that you're the guy at the top of the division, you go clear.
No, at that point, Floyd Mayweather does not have to prove that he's the guy at the top of the division. We all know what he is. So, no, he did not have to fight Keith Thurman to end his reign as an all-time great. Keith Thurman refused to fight Errol Spence from back then when Floyd Mayweather told him that if you fight Errol Spence and beat him, I'll fight you. Even if what Floyd was saying was absolute bullshit, if you're Keith Thurman and you're looking for that big payday, you're supposed to be willing to get into the ring with Errol Spence to get to Floyd if that's really what your motivation was, to prove that you're the best. The point being is that Keith Thurman was after that bag, and he knew that he did not want any smoke with Errol Spence from back then. Because even though the majority of boxing fans did not know who Errol Spence was, people in the boxing world knew who Errol Spence was, not only from his exploits sparring Floyd, but also from the amateur circuit. All these guys know one another. They just do. Like Floyd Mayweather, he knew Andre Berto going back to the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, because Floyd used to pay for a lot of the amateur boxers' trips all across the country. So all these guys know one another.
Clean out all of the guys. No disrespect to Andre Berto, but when Floyd fought Andre Berto, that was 2 or 3 years past Andre Berto being a competitive elite welterweight. So,
you know what's so funny? So many people make these statements about Floyd Mayweather waiting for fighters to get old, as if he's a Nosferatu or something like that. Like Floyd is the only guy who doesn't age. Floyd Mayweather, when he fought Andre Berto, was nowhere near the fighter that he was when he whooped Ricky Hatton's ass, or God knows when he whooped Arturo Gotti's ass. Floyd Mayweather was a guy who, might fight for 1 minute a round, maybe a minute and a half per round, put on a little boxing exhibition where he would throw some fancy combinations. Other than that, he would hold and move. That's what he did against Berto. He really gave Berto a break.
So it's over. It's over for Floyd Mayweather. No more serious fight from him.
He fought Conor McGregor last year. Yeah, it's over. Like that's done. Floyd is making money. He's doing his thing, and there's a place in boxing and combat sports for that. But Floyd's not talking about fighting Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford or anything.
Nor should he. Once again, he's retired. He's on record as saying he is retired.
Or any of those guys like
what
that.
What about Triple G? I mean, Triple G's getting older too.
No.
Triple G has Canelo Alvarez problems. Triple G has to go fight Canelo Alvarez a third time and hope that he can get his belt back.
But Babcock.
That is true, though, that Triple G is getting older. A lot of people think that Triple G is on the decline, that we actually did see him decline between the Canelo fight, so why not Triple G, man?
He just beat Canelo a couple of months ago.
Well, not according to the judges.
Anyway, but the reality is that no, Floyd don't want to fight Triple G. Floyd not fighting these guys. I think Floyd should fight De La Hoya again. I think
That'd be a funny ass fight. I finally got you, Floyd. I got you right where I want you. 12 years later, you're all mine.
I'm serious, man. Like, if we're going to do it, if we're going to make ridiculous matchups.
Look at Oscar. Let me wind this back a little bit.
Matchups. I'm serious, man.
look at Oscar. Oscar, look at that Floyd. Floyd, anybody ever tell you have wonderful eyes? I remember this press conference. This was so funny. This is when Floyd stole all of Oscar's shit.
Man, like, if we're going to do it, if we're going to make ridiculous matchups, let's just go all the way. Floyd fighting De La Hoya. Floyd fighting Sugar Ray. Let's just see what happens, man. But the real fights, and definitely not Canelo.
Well, that's what makes Floyd Mayweather so smart. He understands his limitations. You're a Muhammad Ali. You get into the ring with Larry Holmes in 1980. You have no chance to win that fight. No chance. So Floyd is delusional and believes in himself within the realms of propriety. Floyd knows that if he trains balls to the wall for the next 6 months, he might be able to get into the ring with Canelo and win a 12-round split decision. But it would put so much damage on his body that it would not be worth it for somebody who has all the money that he has, or at least is alleged to have. But anyway, peace.